Martin, I reckon one of the best kept secrets in the whole superannuation world is the spouse splitting. And Monica actually asked in our Facebook group, and if you do want to join our Facebook group, can you please just put, when it says, where did you hear about us, please put episode 325 or an episode number so we know that you are not spam.
Human.
We want to know that you're human. Monica said, perhaps you can do a podcast on super splitting. There doesn't seem to be much info available on this. So we're not doing a podcast, Monica. We're just going to talk about it.
We're doing a question.
We're doing a question within a podcast because I don't think we need more than kind of 5-6 minutes to talk about this. So what is super splitting?
Yeah, so I agree. It's probably underutilized strategy. So basically it is splitting some of your super from one member to another. Now, we're not talking about getting your divorce and splitting your super that way. That's a whole other path that we're not going to cover off today. This is, you're in a relationship, you continue in a relationship, but you want to move some money out of one spouse's super to another. How does it work? And we'll then talk about when you might want to do it, but you can only do it once a year, and you can only do it with the concessional contributions that have gone in from the prior financial year. So let's use an example. Let's say myself and my wife, I might put in $10,000 concessional contributions for myself, either from my employer or personally myself. That goes towards my contribution cap and I get that tax deduction. I then pay 15% inside of my super on that, and that leaves with $8,500. If I do nothing...
Or 85%.
Or 85%.
Which is the maximum.
So 85% is the maximum, $8,500 after that $10,000 figure. I then do nothing. That stays invested in my super for a long period of time. Or I might say, actually, you know what? I'm happy to move that $8,500 to my spouse. I fill in a form. It's an ATO form. Some super funds have their own form, but generally they all accept and use the ATO form. Send that in. I can only send it in after the financial year has happened. You can't send it in while you're still in the same financial year, and you also can't go and backdate for the last 3 or 5 or 10 years. You can only do it for the previous financial year.
Is there a sunset clause or window after 30 June?
No, it's
just during that financial year.
During that financial year. So I haven't tested it, haven't tried to sweat this much, but probably the 29th of June, you could do it for all of the year prior, but you're leaving your run pretty late. But it's technically the end of the following financial year. Super fund processes that. There's a withdrawal from my super fund of $8,500 and a deposit into my spouse's super fund for $8,500. No extra tax.
Does I don't the tax components follow and attach to it?
Stays as taxable.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason you can't do it with non-concessional is because the spouse could have just put the money in with non-concessional anyway because it was already outside of super?
Yeah, so you just can't. There's probably various reasons why you can't, but you can only do concessional. You can't do any earnings. You can't do, as you mentioned, non-concessionals. You can't do insurance proceeds. It's concessionals from the year before. That $8,500, now I might have put that in, I don't know, July of 2025, let's call it. Depending when you listen, this might be in the future, depending when you're listening to this or in the past. Now, it's going to sit in my super account for the rest of that financial year and maybe for another 3 or 4 months until I do that form. It might have gone up. It might be worth $9,500. It might have gone down. It might be worth $7,500. But the whole amount gets transferred across.
Okay, so if the account did lose value because of market fluctuation and that $8,500 of the portion of the contribution was $8,000 now, I could still elect $8,500 and they'll take that $500 from capital.
Assuming if that's the only money in my fund, then they won't. But yes, assuming I've got a balance in there of whatever else to cover that shortfall, they'll still take the full amount.
And when might someone do this super splitting and why?
Yeah, so a few reasons. Your spouse might not be contributing, so you want to just still keep theirs growing, just as a nice thing to do for your partner, Valentine's gift maybe. 2, it might be that your partner's older than you. And the strategy we often use is you split it to the older spouse because that means that you get access to that money sooner.
But it could also work the other way, couldn't it?
There's a Centrelink sheltering strategy. Yeah. You may want to split it back the other way. You might want to keep yourself below a certain limit. We've done podcasts talking about if you're below 500, you're below this certain threshold. And so, and if you've got one spouse who's got 400,000 and heading fast towards the 500,000 threshold, the other spouse has only got 100,000. If you super split $10,000 or $20,000 a year across, that's going to slow one person by not growing as fast. But often, we'll use it for spouse one's 48, spouse two's 58. The 48-year-old can't access their super for a long time. Spouse who's 58 can access it relatively soon. Let's split that up to the older spouse.
And it's also a good tool if, a lot of this audience haven't, have passed the family stage. But it could be a good tool if one member of the couple is on maternity or paternity leave for a year or two. You might just go, all right, during this time we'll put all the super over there or halve it.
Yeah, the working spouse still needs the tax deduction, but we want to split it across the other spouse. It may be there's insurance premiums to come out of that non-working spouse's super balance. And so if it's being, those insurances are important to keep, but we need money in there to fund them.
Yeah.
That's the way to split them across. So,
okay, question, and we are going to talk about the notice of intent to claim, but if I was self-employed and I put a $20,000, we'll use your 10 actually, I put $10,000 into my super fund on 30th of June for general tax planning, I have to then, after the end of June, do the notice of intent to claim form. So the ATO would then remove 15% tax or the $1,500. I can only do this spouse split on that 10K once it is
after it's been
I've
allocated.
done that notice of intent to claim.
Yeah.
And I think you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't you just pay the $10,000 directly to the spouse? Well, the situation may change. You might have done it for a broader tax strategy for that income earner.
Yep.
So we don't get carried away there. But I think it is an unused and unknown strategy, particularly for those younger people. And if you've got kids that are about to start having babies and someone's taking some time off workforce, send them this episode or this clip. Be like, hey, your partner you guys need to talk about this and split some of those super contributions while one of you are off work for an extended period.
And 100%. And then a more longer-term planning, obviously there's new $3 million super tax. You've got one spouse who's on $300,000 a year for the next 30 years of their life and
other one's on 80 or 90
or not working
50,
at all.
Not working, yeah.
They might reach their $2 million transfer balance cap or their $3 million tax. Hold on, I wish I super split for the last 20 years. Two more bits of insight. We said there's not a whole episode, but there's lots to talk about. One, you can only receive that until you've met your preservation age. So 65, we can't super split up after someone's 65 or they've retired after 60, so we can't super split forever. And also, if you use because I know you were going to think and ask this, what if you do a big carry forward, I sell a rental property, I put 100,000 in, can I super split the whole 85%? That short answer is yes.
Yeah, okay. So there are some ways to pluck this chicken. Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.